1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the curriculars podcast with me, Ashna Takhtani. Here to let you know that no matter what you face in life, you are not alone. We do this through a safe, judgment-free community where we share relatable stories for relatable students from Hey everyone, and welcome back to the curriculars podcast. Our topic is about self-care and burnout. So I asked a question on my Instagram page a couple of days back about, what are the things as teenagers you guys struggle with the most? And a lot of it came to, how do I manage my academic life, my social life, as well as self-care, because it's become this whole new thing. It's all over Instagram, at least the side of Instagram that I'm on. So today, to help us understand all of that to the best of our abilities, we've got Nikki Steele, aka the Scottish Soul Sister, a Scottish lassie married to an American guy with a Montenegrin rescue dog and a wee boy with a huge personality. Nikki's journey to becoming a coach, speaker, and content creator has been a roller coaster of highs and lows, relocations, postpartum depression, running her own business, and navigating the challenges faced with the transient lifestyle. Becoming a mom was Nikki's catalyst for change. And so today I'm so grateful, Nikki, that you could join us and share your story with us, as well as, how to deal with self-care, I'm just so grateful that you are here to shine your wisdom on all of us and share relatable stories for relatable students from relatable scenes. So welcome, Nikki.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an introduction. Thanks for having me. And I love that you're covering this topic. I always say that I think schools really need to bring in more of how you guys can self-care and how we can self-regulate and just manage day-to-day life. So I think it's really important that you're bringing people like me onto the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for today's true or false segment. So I'll give it to you. Although I have found that I'm actually really, really bad at doing this true or false thing. Nikki, I think you heard a few episodes. I'm really bad at doing the true or false. I always end up giving away the answer without realizing it. And so a lot of people have told me, maybe you should just stick to story time. So, okay, story time it is. I am a host, as a lot of you know, host, TV presenter, radio presenter. And there was this company that I had been wanting to work with for a really, really long time. I had been chasing them up for like 2 years, maybe 3 years. And finally, one day, I mailed them and they were like, okay, you got the gig. I was the happiest person on planet Earth, right? So we're preparing, and always, I don't know why, but all of the gigs that I always get are in the busiest weeks of my life. Like, you've got all of my tests from school. I'm an IB student, so all the summatives. If you're an IB student, you know how it goes. It's pretty stressful, especially if you don't know what you're studying for like the last month or so. And so you have to put that all in like one revision night. Then you've got obviously the gigs. They take a lot of preparation. I'm obviously going to put, 120% in, as I always do. And then obviously then comes the self-care part. This was a part of my life where I was like, oh my God, I'm going to like work out every day. I'm going to, have my 10-step skincare routine. I was also preparing to give my piano Trinity exams, which again, kind of stressful. And all this built up to the point where, I'm not even joking, an hour before I reach for my gig, I am in tears. It's a proper breakdown. And, everything is getting on my nerves. Everyone is getting on my nerves. And I just burst. And it was very scary. I'm crying. We're getting late. We need to leave the house. I feel like I don't have it all together. Whereas, and it's quite ironic, I was trying to get myself together, but it resulted into the exact opposite, right? And I don't know what it's called. I don't want to call it burnout. I have something against that word. But I think it I don't really know what happened there. But that is exactly why we have brought Nikki on today. So, Nikki, what do you think that was? Like, why do you think that happened?
That's expectations. And having expectations that are just so high for yourself. We all do it. We've got expectations of ourselves. We've got expectations of other people. And sometimes when we talk about this self-care thing, we have to be careful because sometimes you can build up too much or try and implement too much all at once. So everything that I talk about is doing simple, sustainable self-care, which are small increments. So when you're saying, I was trying to do my 10-step skincare workout and I was trying to do this and I was trying, sometimes it becomes too much. The tears came from your body and mind self-regulating. We talk about crying and emotions as positive and negative, and I don't think we should, because they're telling you something. So when you're crying, often when we feel like that, we attach that to, I'm not in control, or you feel embarrassed, or you feel shame. That's nonsense. This is a human reaction. This is your body going, we need an outlet. It's like if you've got a pressure cooker and you don't let that steam come out, right? We've got to get it out somehow. So we have to find the ways that work for us to do that. And we're all different. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the next. I'm a crier. I cry most days. And I used to apologise for it. And I used to say things like, oh, I'm too sensitive. Or, I worry too much. I'm not too anything. I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. And it's actually quite healthy. It's the narrative that's wrong about crying and about letting our emotions out. So I think what's happened is that you've had these expectations of yourself and how to perform and how to show up for everything and everyone. Then obviously it becomes too much and there's a tipping point. And that's why you ended up in the bathroom.
That is so true. Yeah, I think I am a crier as well. I do. I feel like that is my outlet. Yeah, and you're right. I don't think we should label these kind of emotions as negative or positive. I just think some situations trigger it, and you're right. Maybe it was just all of that building up. And so you spoke about something simple, sustainable self-care. We will be coming to that actually quite soon. But before we look into it, so glad to know that whatever I was dealing with wasn't burnout, but I know that burnout is very much real, very much serious, and a lot of kids, especially my age, kind of deal with actually everybody deals with it, in different ways in life, but the way I know it is through like academic stress as well as extracurriculars. I'm 15. I've got like 2 years into my university application process, so I can see all of my friends are like, all of a sudden people are starting to like learn how to play the violin, and like they're building up their portfolio, which I get it, it's necessary, but it's the fact that we don't know how to manage it, maybe that kind of all crumbles down. So what is burnout, and what are some signs of burnout?
So burnout can be a multitude of symptoms, if you like. It's a physical, mental overload. It can be where you lose clarity. Sometimes when we're stressed, when we're worried, we end up not being able to concentrate on anything, which then impacts our productivity. So for you guys, when you're studying, you then go into paralysis and go, I can't do anything. So that then feeds it, right? So what we need to look at, and I think this is really, really important for, when you guys are studying and you've got these expectations on yourself, but I know that you've got the expectations of your teachers, of your parents, right? If I can tell you guys anything, it's find someone you can talk to about this that is out with family and friends. So if you have like a really good guidance teacher in school, if there's a counsellor in school, utilise that. Go and have these conversations. This demographic, Dubai is so high energy, high paced, success is everywhere. That pressure sits on your shoulders, so you guys have to figure out ways in which you can relax your nervous system and tap into the small things. Go and do, whether it's singing your socks off to get it out, or, if you go and do yoga, whatever it is for you that helps you, and if I can say anything, it's like, look at the time you're spending scrolling. I love the internet. I love social media. I use it, I utilise it, but you've got to create boundaries around it, because even as an adult, I've got to manage that. Sometimes I can get too much coming into my own mindset and comparison will kick in. I'm not doing as much as that person is. Physically, you guys have not completely finished growing your brain. Until you're 25, there's a part of your brain that hasn't yet fully formed, so it's looking at being gentle with yourself as well and managing those expectations and getting the support to do so,
Right. And I think you just said actually how to deal with burnout. You said different things for different people. There's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
But do you think we can kind of, I believe that is what would come under the term self-care, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Self-care
that
can
is
mean a lot of things.
right.
know?
Just before we move on to some of the questions that people asked on Instagram, they were very excited to talk to you, the XRS community, by the way. What are some signs of burnout? What can we anticipate and then say like, okay, I think I'm burning out now? What are those signs?
Okay, so like I said earlier, that loss of clarity, when you just feel like foggy, when it's fuzzy, feeling tired, lethargic, losing motivation, when you just feel like you've got stuff to do, but you just can't get that energy to do it. Perhaps feeling more tearful than usual. Your sleep may be interrupted. It can impact the quality of your sleep. So this is when it's important to look at your evening routines. And I think everything comes down to those little habits and routines, how we start our day, how we end our day, and getting into the habit of doing some time management. When you have so many things going on, it's blocking out the time and saying, okay, this will happen here. Because if you try and attend to everything at once, you'll just get confused in that. You've got to try and find some clarity. And I do time management. Every week we sit down on a Sunday and we arrange our meal plan for the week. We arrange our schedule for the week, who's doing what and when. And it just means that you can go into that space and that is your focus. You're not thinking about all the other things. There's something called binaural beats that you guys might want to check out. It's super cool, and it's to work in 25-minute blocks, and you have like sounds that are to help you to stimulate your brain, and so that you're not in the external. There's so many cool things that are available to us now, which is why I do love the internet, because we have access to these resources. But binaural beats could be brilliant for you guys when you're studying. I remember years ago watching my niece studying. So we were out in the garden and she was in the house. And because of the reflection on the window, she didn't know that we were watching her. She couldn't see that we were watching. And she had her laptop open, but she also had her phone in her hand. So I'm watching her on the laptop, but then she's like on the phone. So she came out and she's like, I'm so tired. Like, I was really concentrating there. I was like, no, you weren't. I just watched you with your phone. And she was like, oh, Auntie Nikki. But it's that thing about distractions. Like, you're not going to focus on what you need to focus on if you allow yourself to have distractions. So if you're going into a session to study a particular thing, get your phone away, make sure you've got some water beside you, get your binaural beats, and just have that 25 minutes and you'll get more done. What also happens is the more relaxed you are, because you've anticipated and you've planned your time, you're calm. So you have clarity and you're actually more productive. I've had 2 businesses, and every single time I get stressed and I let things get on top of me and I get worried, I'm not very productive. Whenever I've given myself permission to have a break, I'm way more productive. I find that the emails get put out and things start coming back in, and this energy and this exchange shifts. So, I've been practicing this a long time. I'm a lot older than you guys. If you can keep yourself in a state of being calm, you'll be more productive. So you have to manage it. You have to create that calm for yourself,
Right. That was actually a question that Anaaya asked. How can I manage school, academic life, and social life as well as self-care? Would you want to dive into maybe what self-care looks like first, or would you like to answer the question?
So it all ties in, doesn't it? Self-care to me, what I've learned is understanding that we each have 6 human needs, right? This is the heart of so much of the work that I do. And our 6 human needs are certainty, variety, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution.
6 human needs, you said?
Yeah.
Variety, Certainty, was it?
Certainty. Yeah.
Love and connection.
Yeah.
Significance, growth,
And contribution.
contribution. All right.
This is, you guys can go on and Google it, and there's like quizzes and things that will tell you what your driving human need is. But having that understanding is a really cool little superpower to have. When it comes to managing, your academic and your social life, you've got to create boundaries. Because if you try and do everything and you try and be everything to everyone, then you will have those feelings of burnout. So you have to manage your time. And if there's something going on that you just know you don't have the energy for, then don't do it. Learn how to say no to things.
I was just going to say, I am a huge people pleaser, and this was so difficult for, yes, yeah. And it is so hard. It is so hard. But I did try. That was actually kind of my New Year's resolution for this year, to learn how to say no. I said it the first time, and oh my God, I kind of beat myself up for like so many days after. I was like, why did you say that? How could you? They probably needed your help, or, this, that. And I feel like I'm a very controlling person in my environment. Like, I micromanage everything. But when I learned how to say, yes. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to tell us. Once I learned how to say no, that first time was hard. Second time was a little bit easier. Third time, a little bit easier. To the point where I got so good at doing this kind of stuff, right? I said, look, I'll do what I'm best at. We can each play to our strengths, but I am not going to sit there and do the work for you, right? Learn how to say no. And now it just comes so easily to me, and I don't feel, obviously it took a while, but I don't feel guilty about saying no anymore, because I know that I can't bite off more than I can chew, right? Doing that all the time, it's just gonna hurt me at the end of the day. So I think that is huge.
It's like building a muscle. I'm exactly the same. There are personality traits, and obviously you and I were drawn to each other because we have similar personality traits. So it's building a muscle. But what also happens, you've got to flip how you perceive it, because when we say no, we often see that as we're letting someone down, or we're not, when it comes from the other side. So, because of my business, I send out a lot of emails and look at collaborations. You'll be the same. Often those emails are ignored. You get nothing. But when the ones come back that say, Nikki, thanks for your email, we are not looking to collaborate at this moment, or this doesn't align with what we're doing, whatever it is, even as a rejection, even as a no thank you, that actually is way better to me than just being left hanging. So I think if we have the ability to say, I'm sorry, I can't, do that right now, I'm at capacity, I've got a lot going on, people actually respect that. We think we're letting them down, but when they know where they stand and they have that clarity, they can move on with their day. The world doesn't stop spinning on its axis. When it comes to friendships, because I know that's tough, we often worry about our performance within our friendship groups, and if we don't show up to things, does that impact it? Well, if it does, they're maybe not your people. My habits and behaviours have changed over the years. As I said, I'm a lot older. I've still got the same friends that I had 30 years ago throughout all these shifts and changes, because they're my people, and there are people that I've met and who have been lovely and they've been a part of my life, but we don't vibe anymore, we don't jam anymore. And you have to be prepared for that when you start saying no thank you, and stop trying to give all of you to everyone, because you've got to refuel. It's like trying to drive a car with no fuel in it. It's not going anywhere. So you must understand how to fuel yourself first before you give to others.
Right. That's so important. And I think you're right. That is one of the most important parts when you're managing so many different aspects of your life. You cannot do everything. So the one thing that my mom always tells me is know when to drop which ball. She's like, you're always juggling in life. You are always juggling. And it's important. If you want to achieve the things you want to achieve, it is necessary. You cannot only always just focus on one thing. But sometimes you don't have to focus on everything, so know when to drop.
I said that too, because I sometimes feel like we're also demonizing like being busy. We're demonizing being driven. We're demonizing trying to do different things. And I don't think that's right either. I fully think that we should be chasing our dreams. We should be going after what it is we want in our life. We just have to manage it. That's the difference, you know?
Yep, definitely. So know when to drop which ball, learn how to say no. I think, Anaaya, that is the two things that will definitely help you.
Schedule your time.
Yes, schedule your time. Nikki gave us the idea of
Binaural beats. Another great tool for scheduling your time is an Eisenhower matrix, right?
oh, I love this one. I love this one.
I use it all the time. And so for anyone that doesn't know, you can just take a piece of A4 paper, put it into quadrants, and you have one which is, you know, important or immediate, urgent, whatever it is that perhaps needs done that day. You then have another one which is important. So perhaps it's something that you need done by the end of the week. You then have one which is for delegate. Can someone help you with that? Can someone else do whatever it is that's in that task quadrant? And the other one is delete. Are you doing things that you actually don't need to do this week? It's just taking up time and energy, and we perhaps have to say, no, thank you, I'm at capacity, I can't do that this week. But when you break it down like that, it becomes way easier to see what's going on and how to manage it.
So priorities, get your priorities straight, and I think it'll be a lot more easier for you. We actually touched on our friends and, you know, how important it is to kind of have people that understand you and understand your habits and the way you go about. It just makes life a lot easier. You said you've had the same group of friends for 30 years, but you've also had to let go of a few, you know, on the way, which is important because not everyone, you know, kind of understands the way we go. Not everyone fits. So we actually had a question. Joe asked, if I'm doing a lot of self-care, does my environment, so maybe his friends, still impact my happiness? So if you are kind of in your bubble, right? How big of a factor is environment when it comes to your happiness? Can it still affect you?
Huge. Because
Still?
we're sensory people. So our environment can mean, you know, it can mean the people you surround yourself with. It can also mean if you are, you know, and this comes back into these like 6 human needs. If you are someone whose main human need is certainty, you're quite likely to be someone who likes an organized space, right? So I have almost like OCD tendencies. I like things organized, clean. I'm super particular. I'm not someone who can be in a chaotic space because it impacts me mentally, right? So if that is a case, it's like get your stuff organized, make sure your work space is organized so that you know what you're doing, because that environment can really impact how you're feeling. Natural daylight, fresh air, all these things impact. We're like plants. We need air, we need light, you know, to grow and so that we bloom. Your environment can mean sensory in the sense that is there too much noise? Like, you know, I'm not someone who loves being in really loud environments. I find it overstimulating. You know, it kind of grates me. So your environment can mean a lot of things. And yes, it has a massive impact. Being aware of the TV that you watch, the things that you read, the music that you listen to. You know, are you listening to things that uplift you, educate you, you know, make you laugh? Or are you listening to dark, doom and gloom? Because that is feeding our subconscious mind. So even when you're not paying attention to it, it's actually going in. And I talk about this all the time when I go home to the UK. You know, a lot of people, they just have the news on all the time. And I'm like, turn it off. Like, I'm not being ignorant. It's not that I don't care what's going on. But that is actually feeding into how you play out on a daily basis, you know. And for me, I've got a 6-year-old son. I've got to be my best self. So I am massively aware of my environment and my stimulus, you know. So what I read, listen to, watch on TV. So yes, absolutely, your environment impacts you.
What about when we consider like our friends as our environment? How do we, like, if someone just does not understand our values or the way we work, or you know, even after all of this self-care thing, we're unable to create that kind of bubble. Or let's say we have created that bubble, right? But our friends aren't exactly the best, but we have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to someone who is in that situation? Would you leave the friends? Would you distance yourself? Would you not do anything about it? Would you advise them to look into self-care? Like, what would you tell them to do?
So it depends on the person and how comfortable you are. You know, are they people that you can sit and have a conversation with? And sometimes those conversations are uncomfortable, but can be worth it. So if you can have a conversation, you know, when we're having difficult conversations, what we have to be aware of is the time and space that we do so. You know, because if we go in and it's almost an attack, then you're going to get a reaction from that. So if these are people that you can sit down and say, listen, guys, I know that perhaps I've not been as present, but, you know, I'm working on something that's really important to me. I feel like I just need to look after myself better. You might find that you inspire them. You know, that might have an impact on them to do that too. If this is not gelling, then you can just spend less time. You can just pull back and distance slightly. It doesn't always have to be a big drama, everyone falling out,
Yeah.
you know, attacking each other, because it doesn't have to be like that. And sometimes you'll find that you spend less time with particular people, but then you come back again. You know, we're all going through different things and everyone has their own things going on in their life. But if you are the one that's aware of self-care, and I feel like you are quite astute, you understand this. So by doing that, you're actually modelling to them, you know, and some will be reactive and go, quite like what she's doing, and they'll come and join you in that little journey. Some won't like it because it makes them reflect on themselves. And when we shake that narrative, you know, sometimes but you've just got to let that slide then. Always be true to you. Always do, as long as you're not hurting other people, you know, you're not being wicked, you're being kind to others, but you're being true to you, then you always have to stick with that. And I wish I knew that when I was your age.
It's definitely really important. So our first takeaway is that no, not everything has to be like those big, exaggerated high school teen dramas.
No.
It could literally just be as simple as, you know, I am focusing at something really important right now, and I just need a little bit of time. But if they are, you know, people who will understand you, they are true to that, then they will get it and they will be fine with it, and then you can come back. Let's say you are not in the situation, but you're still listening to this and you kind of relate that, oh, there is someone in my friend group who I think has been going through some stuff, or who has been perhaps learning how to focus on themselves a little bit more. Maybe
Yeah.
just send them a little message, say, hey, I know how you're feeling, or hey, how's it going in there, just checking in, and
Yeah.
maybe try and understand the fact that it's okay.
Yeah.
Be considerate to the people around you. You don't know what they're going through. And if it's something that you would like to join, then let them know that as well. You don't know. Maybe they want you to join, but they just don't have the guts to tell you.
Yeah.
So kind of be open-minded from all aspects.
Those check-in messages can go a long way. Like, I'm really aware of doing that with my friendship groups. I always, you know, make sure that, because we've got to put into relationships as well, right? It's not all about what we get from them. We have to put into. So I often will just checking in, and that's it. That's all you have to say. But it just lets that person know that, you know, they're in your thoughts. You've not forgotten about them, you know, because life does get busy. And I think we do have to be aware of looking after each other as well, you know?
Yeah, definitely. We've got another question actually, and this comes back to the self-care part, right? Lina asked, I eat healthy and exercise and have a skincare routine, but still don't feel fulfilled. Why? Is there some type of self-care that I'm missing? So I think we can start off by looking at what are the types of self-care.
Right, so it could be that she's not meeting her need for growth. Maybe she needs to be paying more attention to something that stimulates her brain, like do a little course online or something that encourages you. Perhaps she's not feeling significant. You know, sometimes life is so busy, everyone's doing their thing, that we don't feel significant. So ways in which you can improve those things is understanding which need are you not meeting, you know.
And there are quizzes online, right?
Yeah, there's loads of stuff out there. It's great. You know, it could be a loving connection. Perhaps she doesn't have a friendship group where she's feeling like that's her people. You know, there's a brilliant psychologist called Marissa Peer who often says that if we're feeling, you know, a bit off or something's not right, she puts it down to 3 things, which can be not living your heart's desire. So often that's maybe she's not studying what she should be studying, maybe she's doing stuff, you know, that her parents are encouraging her to do, but it's not her interest, it's not feeding her soul. The second thing is tribe. So tribe is your people, your friendship groups. And the third can be your inner voice, which is often can be very negative because we are programmed to keep ourselves safe. So often fear comes in, that negative inner voice, to discourage us from doing things that are maybe uncomfortable. The other thing is that you've got to check your medical stuff as well. Yeah, I think I spoke about this when you and I met. I often say that we've got 3 accounts, right? So self-care will go into 3 accounts. Your medical account, check your bloods, check your vitamins. It could be that you're just lacking in a vitamin, you know, and you need a supplement. It can be that simple. So make sure you check your medical well-being, your physical well-being. The second one is tapping into things that make you feel good, that are perhaps luxury things, like going to the salon or getting your nails done or, you know, having a facial, things like that, that you don't do every day. But the third one is the daily one, and that's the one that I think is really important. So it's like, how are you starting your day? So as much as she's exercising and she is eating well, how is she starting her day? What other stimulus is happening there, you know? And I always say, when you wake up in the morning, don't look at your phone straight away. You know, leave it for an hour. Our brains go through 2 processes on wakening. And what often people are doing is they're interrupting that natural process by lifting their phone. And based on what you see on that phone, that will impact your thought process, that impacts your emotions, that impact your behaviours. So your day will play out. My days are so much better now because I never start my day in a negative mindset. I never start my day in a chaotic sense because I manage my time. I get up, I do a little 7-minute workout. I have breakfast with my son, so that's my love and connection being met. We're calm, we start our day in that sense, and that means that we've got more clarity, more productivity, we're in a better mood as our day plays out. So there's something that she's maybe missing there.
Right, that's really important. Sometimes, actually, you're right, the daily habits, people tend to overlook that so much. I don't know, you probably can't see it. Maybe it's over there by my piano. There's like a small little vision board. So right behind me is my bed, and right next to my side of the bed is a vision board with like all the quotes, you know, that empower me, that inspire me. So when I get up, obviously I praise God, and then we move straight onto this. I wake up and my sister has this thing where she always gives me this huge hug. After obviously we kind of pillow fight to wake her up because she's a deep sleeper. And so that's my love and connection being met. Like you said, I love music. Music is like my coffee. I can't live without it. So a good playlist in the morning. I wake up and I put my empowering playlist, all the nice feel good songs, and that already makes my day like 10 times better. You know, it sets the mood. So I think that's very important. So Lina, if you're listening to this, well, maybe it could be your medical account, your luxury account. Maybe you need to just spend some time, spoil yourself. Perhaps it is your heart's desire not being met, or maybe it's just something in your day-to-day life that you're missing. And how do we, just really quickly, how do we identify what it is that we're missing? Whether it be the human need, or whether it be, you know, the type of self-care or the account of self-care.
So you have to start making yourself like a little passion project, right? It's personal development takes time. You're not going to do it over one evening. So it's going through these 6 human needs, and when you understand that, then you find ways in which you can support each of them for you personally, you know, and then you feed into that. Then you start just raising awareness to the things that are good for you and that support you, and the things that perhaps don't anymore. And I love that you spoke about music, because I always talk about music and comedy being like medicine, you know, and we don't tap in enough. I had on music earlier. I was listening to Stevie Nicks because that's my jam. On my Instagram, there's a playlist in there. Like I'm completely with you. I think it's massive, music and comedy, because people don't laugh enough. You know, even what I'm doing, like I talk about depression and anxiety, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not here to create a dark space. I'm here to tell you that if you are in a dark space, it's because you need to let more light in. So what is your light? What lights you up? You know, is it music? Is it reading? Is it comedy? Is it being outside? Is it being more active? I think that can be a thing here as well, this demographic, because it gets so hot. We're not naturally outside as much as our bodies would like us to be. We've got to be really intentional with moving our bodies. The same, we drive everywhere. Like, we don't just walk to places, you know, we're always in the car. All these things are important and they have an impact, you know. So it is making yourself a passion project and starting to filter through and going, okay, actually, I keep doing this and I know I shouldn't. You know, there are habits that we create that sometimes we need to let go of, our behaviours, you know. We often know in our gut, but until we become intentional and do that bit of personal development, it's really tough. But that's why I tap into, like, these coaches and, you know, these counsellors and therapists that work with teenagers, tap in, because they'll have a wealth of tools, you know, to help you.
We've actually gone all the way back to the beginning when we identified about what burnout is and how we can deal with it, where you said the exact same thing. Find someone who you can talk to. I was going to say exercise. It's such a huge thing. I think it's been proven scientifically that when you exercise for at least 30 minutes, was it? Your body releases endorphins, and they're like chemicals that make you feel happy. Dopamine is a big one. And I have this little saying, when your body moves, your mind grooves. So it helps with so many different things. And you're right. Sometimes it is our external factors, especially in Dubai. It's like so hot for majority of the year. So I think when we start to be intentional with that, it is so important.
People are mental or attached. People think they're separate. People think if you look after your physical body, you don't have to look after your mental. And it's like, no, you've got to look after your mental health, and each will help the other. You're totally right. Totally right. You should be a coach.
Thank you. I actually do something similar, but I think we should take it out big time. You're right. The World Health Organization did, I think, recently state that there were different types of health. Health is not just physical anymore. It's mental, it's spiritual. It's a lot of things tied into each other. So go check out World Health Organization for that one. Thank you so much, Nikki, for this episode. It was absolutely amazing. And I know I say like, oh, this is for the triple XRS community, but I think a lot of this was stuff that I needed to hear as well. So thank you so much. Remember, guys, be intentional with, you know, the way you're doing things. Sometimes, like Nikki said, we have a feeling in our gut, but we don't always kind of know. So if you are struggling to do that on your own, maybe find someone who can do that with you. Maybe have someone to kind of observe you, a therapist, a counselor. Nikki doesn't talk to people under 18. She's just too good for us. No, but I'm joking. She has but if you do ever have any questions, feel free to just text her. Nikki, where can we find you?
So I'm all over the place. I'm on Instagram as the Scottish Soul Sister, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those social media places. I do pop into TikTok, but I don't know that I'm very good at working it. Thank you so much for having me, and I love what you're doing, and you should be so proud of yourself. I think that you are a massive inspiration for your peer groups. I think that what you're doing and just showcasing that authenticity, and, you know, by sharing and bringing guests on and giving people that information, you're doing something that's really important. So I hope you're proud of yourself, because you are doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, remember, Nikki has told you she is the Scottish Soul Sister. I love that name, by the way. No true or false for today, because I gave you a story time. I will be putting a poll in for Spotify if you're listening to this on Spotify. And the question is, did you like my true or false better or story time better? Because I'm getting mixed responses, so I need to clear this once and for all. Thank you so much, Nikki. Remember, guys, there are a lot of things that go into self-care, and the most important thing is just be conscious with it. You know, kind of understand what's going on all the time. We're juggling, so know when to drop which ball. That really helps. Time management is a big one. Our environment. We've spoken about so many things. If you have any other questions, remember, you can always text Nikki, let us know. And if there's any other topic that you want us to maybe speak about, it's always going to be anonymous. Remember that. But you can let me know, DM me on Instagram, or let me know, send me a message through Spotify. It's Ashna's Talk Time. Thank you so much, Nikki, for joining us. Changing the world one episode at a time. Sharing relatable stories for relatable students from relatable scenes. This is Ashna Taktani and the Scottish Soul Sister, signing out.
1, 2,